Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Amazing Women Speak. I am Crystal Gunn, financial strategist, founder of the Amazing Women Network, and host of Amazing Women Speak. We were on vacation for the month of July, so forgive me, I'm a little rusty. We got to get back into the swing of things, but you can find Amazing Women Speak on Facebook, YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, and Roku. So also, please like the Amazing Woman Network fan page on Facebook. Thank you again today as we get into the topic of Western medicine and the Black woman. So Michele, bring us in and let us know who else is joining us today.
Good evening and welcome back. Took a little break, as Crystal said. We are excited to be back. And once again, we're going to kick this conversation off with some amazingly dope women as we continue to explore all of the ways in which we need to own and operate inside of our amazing. My name is Michele Harper. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the Director of Diversity with Evident Change, and I also have the privilege of being a personal trainer for Agency Fitness, where we challenge Black women to own their agency, whatever the cost. Again, really excited to have this conversation one more time, being accompanied with some amazing women. And without further ado, as you all know me, let's invite in, let's hear, let's learn from the women that are with us today. I would like to first invite in Dr. Allen.
Hello, it is a pleasure to be amongst such great company. And I just, essentially, my name is Jannel Lee Allen, or Jannel Kutala Lee Allen, and I am blessed to be here with the introduction with Ms. Gunn from Abeo, one of my great friends, or Judy O'Neill is what most people will know her by. Needless to say, I am originally born and raised in Harlem, New York, Harlem world, baby, all the time, gotta represent. And Detroit has been my chosen home for the last 20 years. Essentially, I am non-traditional. I originally graduated from the University of Pittsburgh with a degree in neuroscience as well as urban studies. I had a passion to pursue how do we figure out how do we help our cities. And in the midst of that, I said, you know, if I should choose to decide medicine, it's we always need doctors and that will always be here. So I've actually had a 7-year career in housing community development in the basically in 2000s to 2010, and then decided to go back to pursuing medicine, knowing I got a lot of questions answered, and I really, had this desire to really have these one-on-one relationships, and knowing that no matter what I did, I can always be in tune with my community and help give back every step of the way. So that led me to be okay with going back to pursuing medicine. And I graduated from Wayne State University School of Medicine. I did have a full tuition scholarship, praise God. And also had, a wonderful husband and 2 children and a wonderful mom-in-law and sister-in-law and just lots of my husband's family who made that happen. There is no me without we. In addition to that, I did live in Columbus for about 3 years when I did my internal medicine residency at The Ohio State University, and then made my way back on to my second home, Detroit, when I just, essentially finished my gastroenterology fellowship. On the heels of that, being that it's been COVID, and so many of our people, with all the health care disparities that existed, including the health of Black women, one of the things that we and a group of my other Black physicians, we did formulate an organization called YoungBlackPhysicians, where we use social media, particularly YouTube, Facebook, as well as Instagram, to put out videos where we're having, just like this, discussions among ourselves, educating ourselves, and then really talking about how our community is impacted and how we can give back through education, advocacy, and training. So with that said, I think that's a good introduction. I'll leave it at that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Allen. Already, right? Like I have 100 questions that I want to ask.
Right? Good stuff. Let's do it.
Really, really excited to have you with us tonight. And certainly, last but not least, let's welcome in Erica. Come on in, Erica.
Hi, welcome, and thank you so much for having me. I have had the opportunity to know Crystal for a few years and have been blessed beyond measure in having her have some frank conversations about business and life. And I celebrate you and say thank you. I am Erica Kelley. I am a mental health therapist. I have been a therapist for about 22 years. I enjoy what I do. I have always said people is my passion. I first started off working in infant mortality and morbidity. My passion is working with mothers and women and family. What I have found is that we, unfortunately, are underrepresented in a lot of positions of health, and overrepresented in a lot of positions of poverty and not being heard. And so my passion has been frequently about working with that. In 2014, I started a program called Baby Steps. It is an infant mortality program that focuses on helping mothers and babies get services through having a nurse, a social worker, or therapist, as well as a dietitian come in the home until the baby is either age 1 or either the mom has completed her pregnancy and had the baby. That program has been my passion in providing car seats, diapers, someone to talk to, understanding that they're not alone, understanding that your choice is not just what you are bound to having all of your life. And even at that point, I had my son. My son is now currently 27. And during that time, when I was pregnant with him, I had a baseline test called an alpha fetal protein test. It was read incorrectly, and I was told at that point I could have 2 weeks to terminate my pregnancy. At that time, that physician had no idea that I already worked in infant mortality. So I literally, in my drape, naked, tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Sir, how about an amniocentesis? What about an ultrasound? How about repeating this test? Because this is just a screener.
Yeah.
And you took my test 3 weeks ago.
Mhm.
Wow.
I'm here. Why haven't you called me and told me that I had an abnormal test?" When
Mhm.
you don't have the understanding
Mhm.
of what could be done, we allow things to happen to us. And I forgot that for a while. But as I became a therapist, that has been my goal, is to understand that what happens to you isn't happened through you. You can have the opportunity to change things that happen to you as long as you can keep committing to knowing who you are. If you're depressed, it's okay to be depressed, but it's not okay to give up. Understanding your diagnosis is not who you are, it's what you have. And so this has been my passion in talking with us and understanding what we can do and how we can advocate for ourselves and others. When we have strong networks and families and tribes, we got away from that being brought over, not invited over, but brought over. We lost some of our intelligence of self and community. We've been separated to have services. And I look forward to keeping us together and working within our tribes, such as the Amazing Women's Network. That is a tribe of keeping fellowship and understanding and honoring who we are as women. We matter. And I just am happy to be a part of continuing to spread that message.
Thank you. Thank you for that awesome welcome and an opportunity to hear a little bit about the ways in which you leaned into this work and leaned in hard and it started a journey. So before I get some free therapy from you, Erica, and before I ask you to diagnose all of the things that have been going on with my I want to learn a little bit more about you and as Black women, the journey that took you to where you sit today, right? When I think about little girls who are thinking about what I want to be tomorrow and all of the barriers that you had to overcome to sit in the seats that you are now sitting in. Tell us a little bit about that journey. We don't often see Black doctors. We rarely get to see Black women doctors. We rarely get to walk into a room and have a Black therapist really pay attention to what's happening. Tell us a little bit about your journeys. Dr. Allen.
You know, I think about that, right? Because literally, I just finished June 30th, my GI fellowship. That was 10 years of medical training, literally 10 years. And I think about the idea of, all of the different I think people, who sewed into me this idea of one, even in my church, I go to the shrines of the Black Madonna, and this month is Marcus Garvey month, right? And one of the quotes that stuck out to me that I was reviewing from Marcus Garvey was, "If you don't believe in yourself, you are already twice defeated."
Mhm.
And it just kind of stuck with the idea of what about faith? And what about how does God work in the world? The idea that God works through people. And when you have people who are sowing into your life, even before you may know it, all I feel like um, I had the, kind of like the belief system that I got was that you can do it. Like, I went to schools with predominantly Black teachers, and we got shown things like in elementary school, like, our, not recess, or if there was a rain day, or if there was a, some kind of special event, literally we were watching Eyes on the Prize. It was always this thing of, we have, as a people, we have been through a whole lot. But if you understand that you can do this and that our people have been through so much, and even in the midst of, terms of Jim Crow, I mean, so much stuff, we have still been able to survive. So from that, I feel like as a kid, the only thing that I really, really garnered from all of that is the idea that African Americans are the people of excellence against all odds, against all odds. It's like no matter what we've gone through, no matter what we've got put through, you can do it if you understand and trust the network, trust your village, trust God, trust the Creator. You can do it. Whatever it is that you put your mind to, whatever it is that you set yourself to, you got people feeding into you. You got people who are telling you that this is a path that you can take it, work hard, not just innate abilities. Doesn't matter if you're just getting good grades, but you have to work hard, do what you need to do, as Sister Kelley just said, or Erica just said, like you have to, exercise your understanding, exercise your investigation skills, do what you need to do, ask your sisters and brothers who are around you questions when you don't understand it, and that's about everything in life, So I think to me, the biggest thing that I feel like as how I got here, even though being a unicorn, is the idea of really trust the process. Just do everything that you can, and even in the face of defeat, sometimes learn the lesson behind that, understand that, well, God, where are you moving me to? There's doors that have been closed. Is there a window? And if there's no window, well, then God, you must be trying to guide me and direct me somewhere else. Show me that.
Awesome. So Facebook Live, chat is here for you. Utilize it. Drop your questions, drop your thoughts and concerns as we continue to dig into this conversation. So Dr. Allen, I heard 3 things that really belong on a t-shirt, right? Like I heard about your faith,
Yeah.
right? And its importance. I heard about your tribe and it's critical to surround yourself. And I heard about the belief in yourself, right? So like I have those written down, faith, tribe, belief, whatever order you need to put them in, right? Thank you for lifting that up. That is really powerful to be thinking about. This is hard, and it's extremely hard for Black women, and it's not impossible. Thank you. Erica.
Yes, ma'am. So for me, one of my keywords also, Dr. Allen, is faith. I believe in it so much. I have it tattooed on my arm. It says, faith without work is dead.
Yeah.
And so what I believe is that even when you have faith, it doesn't mean to worry, but it doesn't mean you stop working. You have to work at whatever your talent is. If you want to be a ditch digger, be the best ditch digger you can be, right? If you want to build plants and work with horticulture, do that. I really believe in not putting ourselves in a box to limit ourselves. Whatever it is that you want to do, keep trying until you can get the best at it. In entrepreneurship and talking with Crystal, when I first started baby steps and then moved on to evolution counseling and consulting, I believe in evolution. I believe in life changing, us moving. That's why my company's name is Evolution Counseling and Consulting. It is really about us realizing as we change, it doesn't mean we have to stop. You still have to work, but you can still change. And because you changed from yesterday to today does not mean that you're a failure. It just means that you changed and we've grown. So accepting your growth in who you are. Who you are does not have to be one dimensional. We are multi-dimensional people, and especially as African Americans. We have had a lot of turmoil, trials, and hurt and pain, but we still keep climbing to the top. And I want us to continue doing that. One of my beliefs, and I say it all the time, my friends will laugh, is smile on purpose. I believe in that. It doesn't matter if it hurts, it doesn't matter if it's not a good day. If you can muster up a smile, it'll make you feel better, and 9 times out of 10, it'll make someone else feel better. You never know, just by coming in the room smiling, how that can lift somebody's day. And when you do it on purpose, that means intentionally you're trying to make yourself and others feel better. The purpose is, it matters. So for me, faith, purpose, and work are my ideologies of who I am. Coming up through school, I went to Jesu, I went to St. Scholastica, I then begged, please let me go to a private school. Mom, please. I went to Redford High School, class of 89, and I enjoyed doing different things. My favorite class was choir. I did not embrace education for a long time. My choir teacher gave me the grace and the presence of learning how to compete, being competent, being confident, all of that just through singing. He taught us Black Negro spirituals and what that meant. He taught us about Donny Hathaway. He taught us about Stevie Wonder. He taught us about the ethics of learning where we came from and why that music was important. Not all schools give us music anymore. They took the arts out of our schools.
Yeah.
But arts can make you purposeful. It can lead you into, it led me back into education after I had the confidence to do that. Once I got into working and I learned that I enjoyed research. I enjoyed working. I worked for the School of Medicine for Wayne State for 10 years, working in infant mortality and morbidity. And then I went into cancer genetics. And then I went into working with homeless teenagers. I literally worked with this young lady that would only speak to me, and I only saw her monthly. At that point, I asked, could I see her one last time because my job was done with her. She did not speak to me. And I went to the social worker and I said, please don't send her home. She was 10. She was suicidal. She had 3 previous attempts. The social worker at that point told me we had to send her home because of her insurance and what the courts suggested for her. She did go home. She did complete, and she committed suicide. That week, I was already going through the School of Med. I was already going to Wayne State to determine what did I want my master's degree to be in. And I thought it was going to be research evaluation. And once that young lady passed, I said, no, it's not. I literally walked in to have my interview for research and evaluation and literally bumped into the director of the counseling program at Wayne State. Dr. Ellington was visually impaired, and she grabbed my wrist and she said, why are you here? And I said, I'm interviewing for research and evaluation. She said, that's not what you should be doing.
Wow.
And I looked at her like, what? She read me, literally. And she said, that's not where your heart is. Consider counseling. She gave me that opportunity. I looked into counseling. I joined the program. And I've never looked back. That was one of the best things that I could have did for myself. Counseling did not only help me help others, it helped me understand myself.
Yeah.
Right? That confidence, why did I lack confidence? Why did I feel this certain way about myself? Why was I feeling stressed? I realized we all do, but it's how we respond and how we surround ourselves with that level of support. So for me, therapy has been not only a savior for others, but it helped save me and a lot of my friends and family. It's important. And I want us to stop thinking that counseling or therapy is just for crazy people. You have to have a problem to have therapy. You have a problem if you don't think therapy is for you. We all need someone. We were brought on this earth in twos. The animals came in pairs. Why? Because we need each other. So please understand, therapy is not because you can't handle your problems. No, I don't want to tell my business to someone. I can't tell your business to anyone. So get you a therapist and stay off of Facebook or Instagram putting your business there, because everybody can spread it there. But when you see a therapist or a doctor, a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, we keep your information private so we can help you. So please understand, therapy is not because you're crazy. Therapy is because we exist and we all have problems and we all need some support. So I do this out of love and out of admiration for people.
Amen. I love that. I mean, literally, Young Black Physicians, this whole 2022 year, like we asked our audience, what do you want to talk about? What do you want us to talk about? And mental health has been our whole theme. And we started out with MLK Day. That's usually our first uh, video or either webinar for the year. And essentially we wanted to say, if you have a mind, then you have mental health. And that means if you have mental health, that means that you always want to be your best self, even in that. And getting the idea of getting a counselor is what we need. It's just the idea of sometimes life gets tough, and sometimes it's so helpful to be able to sort it out with somebody who's trained to help you understand how you think and why you think the way you think, in order to be able to unleash that quickly. You could be trying to do that on your own for years, and in just a couple of months, get it done with a trained professional. So it's amazing what we can do, like you said, when we work together and really go to the folks who have been specializing in this.
Absolutely.
Dr. Allen, before Michele takes you all down a road, can you just explain what a GI fellowship is and what is it, 10 years? Like what?
Absolutely. So the 10 years, okay, let's start there. So the 10 years is 4 years of medical school, 3 years of internal medicine residency, and then 3 years of GI fellowship. So what it means, once you finish medical school, you can choose to do the gamut of medicine. There's so many things that you can choose. You can choose to do a residency in surgery. You can choose to do a residency in psychiatry. You can choose to do a residency in anesthesiology, so many things. And so that means for you, basically your first set of training, meaning clinical training years where you are operating on your MD or your DO license. And you're just or I should say, you're operating in your training, and you're technically making all your decision. It has to be run by what we call an attending physician, or the person who actually is trained and to teach you and has already been licensed for way longer than you. Then that's your first set of training. If you should decide that you, in addition to getting your base training, that you also want to specialize in that field, then that's usually called a fellowship. So that's just basically a secondary training in whatever you want, like a subspecialty of wherever you initially trained in.
Got it. I'm telling you, this is going to be really interesting, y'all.
Right? So yeah, so here's where we get our pens and papers out. Here's where we should really be taking an opportunity to drop some questions, right? Like, you've got a lot of knowledge on your screens, Facebook. You've got a lot of knowledge on your screens right now. And what I've heard from both Dr. Allen and Erica is this will and desire to help their people, right? And so if you don't take advantage of this next 30 minutes of free stuff you can get, because after this, it's not free, let's be clear, right? Let's be clear. Right. So we're going to take advantage of some high-level questions. Now would be the time to start dropping those in the chat, to really hear from some professionals, again, who are committed, who showed up and stayed in this work because of our people, right? So yeah, let's unpack this. I want to talk about, when we talk about Western medicine and the Black woman, right? When you said GI, one of the things that I've been talking to my clients about is, as we get older, all of the things that we hold in our gut, our stress, being menopausal, perimenopausal, right? Like the way that we're eating and we're holding it. So when you heard GI, right? Like I was like, I hope all of my clients are on and listening, right? Like here's an opportunity to think about the ways in which Black women do or don't take care of their bodies, and what does it mean to our digestive systems, and what does it mean to our overall health?
Absolutely. So that is a fabulous question. And I mean, one of the biggest things, so now I am in a private practice group in Lansing, Michigan. And we have offices all throughout Lansing and East Lansing. And one of the things that people frequently ask me about is, at times I have, abdominal pain, or I'll have lots of bloating, or I just don't feel myself, or I'm no longer going to the bathroom regularly like I used to, and I always tell people, first and foremost, this is very common. As you mentioned, this is very, very common. The one thing that I always kind of give you is that it's pillars, right? Because the bottom line is absolutely there. Einstein had a saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? It's this idea that, and also food is our first medicine, right? No matter what you do, everything that you put in your system, the first and foremost thing that you do is food, right? From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed at night. And a lot of our food, particularly processed food, or, basically our American diet, our most common American diet, whether it be fast food or either restaurant food, even when we say like, oh, we're going to go to the restaurant, it's going to be a gourmet restaurant, there's still so many things in there that you just don't realize that hold empty calories, meaning like they are a lot of calories, but not as much nutrients, right? And also it takes a lot for your body to digest many things, right? Particularly a lot of our preservatives, a lot of our just foods that have been changed, and even unfortunately a lot of our genetically modified foods. So even folks who are like, well, I eat so many things, I eat my oatmeal, I eat my fruit, I don't know why I'm not going to the bathroom anymore. And I like to tell them, it's like, it's you, like, if you're focusing on your diet, that's most important, right? Focusing on your diet and trying to get foods that are fresh or frozen. I prefer not to have canned foods because a lot of preservatives and salts are added to those, but fresh and frozen, particularly vegetables and your fruits. That's definitely a good thing, right? And then also multigrain items. And also for your own body, understanding when your body is responding to different things like even dairy products. For many of us, we can no longer process it. We just don't have the enzyme called lactase. So if you are keeping a food diary, figuring out which foods are causing you the worst symptoms, like I'm always bloated after I eat, X, Y, Z, insert whatever your favorite food is, unfortunately, right? And then also, really trying to understand anti-inflammatory, meaning like a lot of things that are fried or somewhat overcooked. Those are some things that our bodies can increase inflammation with it. So trying to eat diets that are have things like even teas have flavonoids, basically a lot of or I should say anti-inflammatories, because other things like preservatives and things like that are more pro-inflammatory. So that affects your body, it affects your bones, it affects your muscles. For those people who have joint pains, there's a list of things. There's a lot of education, a lot that I can do to partner with dietitians and things to that nature, because there's so much we don't get educated about it, right? A lot of times, as Erica was mentioning, a lot of times we're responding to things. And oftentimes, when we are bored, when we're stressed, when we are frustrated, sometimes we just want to get that quick instant gratification. And that oftentimes comes in the form of foods. For some people, that could be in the form of alcohol. Other people, that may be in the form of cigarette smoking or marijuana smoking. There's a lot of things that we're responding to. So it's about trying to figure out, well, one, why are you, having certain things, so particularly mindless eating and things to that nature. So it's a deep dive. And like you mentioned, Michele, the bottom line is our GI tract is loaded with the same kind of receptors that's in our brain. And so when we are stressed out, and we have already had a bad diet or, other things that affect our GI tract, then yes, that can show up in our gut. The idea of irritable bowel syndrome is a very common diagnoses, unfortunately, but it's something that can be overcome with diet. It also can be overcome with exercise, and it also can be overcome with counseling. So I do like to tell people it is a full gamut.
Absolutely. So Dr. Allen, before I invite Erica in, you went over something really quick that I want us to pause on.
Sure.
And I do have a question for you. So you talked about dairy and you said wheat, right? And so you talked about an enzyme that we don't have. When you said we, are we talking women? Are we talking Black folks in general? Right?
We
like,
are
so
talking
this thing like Black people, we don't digest dairy. Stay away from that.
So actually, I was speaking definitely for African Americans as well as even Asian. So people who have ethnicity based in Africa as well as in Asia, a large majority of us. And when I say large majority, I'm talking about between 30 to over 50% of us do not, like as we get older, we do not carry that enzyme anymore, the enzyme of lactase. So as a result, when people go to eat any dairy products, milks, cheeses, I feel like one of the most common creamy things, those kind of things, and they end up with having bloating. Even our favorites, mac and cheese, you end up either being bloated or really gassy, right? This very foul smelling gas. And I remember one of my co-med students, she was saying when we were learning about this in med school, she's just like, yeah, we kind of just ignore it when we say, well, that's just what happens normally. Like that's just normal. When the truth is, it is something that we can be avoided. Like we actually do have a name for that. It is lactose intolerance. When you're, finding that happens, a lot of bloating, a lot of passing of felt flatus is what we call it, or lots of passing gas. Basically, you're walking around pooping around the house, and it's essentially because of the fact that the bacteria that's in your gut, which we have millions of, is digesting the food for you, and the gas that they create, you can't process, and so it's coming down the GI tract, right? Whereas if you had the enzyme, you could actually digest it and it wouldn't be left for the bacteria to, digest for you. So yeah, it's a lot of Black and brown people who do not carry the enzyme for all their life. Essentially they can start in childhood, that people, can start having, bad tummies. It happens when they eat ice cream, when they have bowls of, cereal. So yes, Black and brown people. There isn't too much research to say whether women, Black and brown women, have it more than men. I don't know that yet.
Awesome. So the question that I have for you, right? Like the work that I do, I pay attention to systemic racism and all the ways in which systems, right, like do not work for Black and brown folks. And so when I start thinking about insurance and how do we get to Dr. Allen, right? Like I have to first go and see an internal medicine doctor and get a referral, right? Like what question should I be asking my internal medicine that would get me an opportunity to see you? What are the questions that we should be thinking about?
Absolutely. So, okay, I always tell people this. One, first and foremost, find out from your insurance, because actually more and more insurances are allowing you to see a GI doctor without the internal medicine referral. So that's one, check with your insurance. Two, when you talk to your internal medicine doctor, I always tell people our key alarm signs are things like, hey, our primary care doctor, I've been having acid reflux or having a lot of heartburn. My primary care doctor did give me, a medication to take care of it, but unfortunately it's not taking care of it. Those are things that, because primary care is primary care. They are the quarterbacks. They are supposed to try at least the first line therapies. So if they've tried the first line therapies and you really feel like you're not getting better on it, that's when you say, I really want to see a specialist. Because maybe something else is going on that's just not very clear or, common upfront. You're having, and this, I'm getting into my also, colorectal cancer awareness kind of thing as well. You're starting to, if you're having blood in your stool, that's something that, okay, you need to see a GI specialist right away. That's not something that we just want to say, oh, it could be hemorrhoids and that's it. No. We need to do some evaluation there. That you could need an endoscopy even if you before the age of 45. Okay. You're having weight loss. You don't know why. Those are things that you are going to say, the primary care doctor is going to check a couple things. And but part of that checking, if they haven't found an answer, you should also say, well, do I need to see a GI doctor? Especially if you're having other symptoms. You're having nausea, vomiting. You're having abdominal pain, don't know why. You are having all of a sudden where you're eating and you're feeling full all of a sudden. And it's like, well, I only ate like a little bit. So why am I feeling this way? You're having symptoms where you're waking up in the middle of the night, either because you have severe abdominal pain or because you are having, waking up to need to actually go to the bathroom to poop. That's not a normal thing. That's if it's happening frequently. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that if this happens one single time, with the exception of the blood, because sometimes even that one time can be a sign for us that no, we need to be evaluated, especially if we are people, anyway, I would just say bottom line, blood in your stool, that's not normal. You vomiting blood, no. That's something that you need to see a GI specialist right away for. But things like abdominal pain, if it's here or there, a few seconds, or a few minutes, and it's like every 6 months, I don't, that's fine, But if we're talking about you are going weeks on end with having this strange change to your body, like Erica mentioned, a little bit earlier, like these are things that are your body is trying to talk to you. If it's happening on a consistent basis, if it's happening daily or every other day, and it's progressively getting worse, no, those are things that you do need to see a specialist for, because there are likely tests that we need to run and lots of workup, including what I do, which are colonoscopies, endoscopies, or upper GI scopes is what they call it. And we know of a couple different, tests that we need to do for after that. So yeah, those are the kind of things that you're going to say, doc, your primary care doc, you're going to say, I love you, doc, but I really want to make sure that this is happening a little bit too much. I really want to see a specialist.
Thank you. Chris, I see you leaning in. I don't want to cut you off. The conversation is just right. All of the things I've been thinking about all week.
And it's okay. It's so many comments in the comments. And it's some really tap in, even if you're watching, tap into the comments. Shout out to Dr. Simone Cowan, who is a Black woman cardiologist in this area. So you definitely want to reach out to her. Dr. Allen, there is a question in the comments. Maybe you can look at that and kind of give some.
I'm trying to go through the comments. I'm trying to get back on my page to see if any of my people have questions too. And I keep getting other people. So I apologize for my lack of expertise on the Facebook. So if you guys can see the question, please just say it out loud and I will be able to respond to it for sure.
All right, we'll definitely come back to it, because I know Michele wants to get to Erica because she has a story to tell.
Yes. So Erica, right, this whole conversation, right, like it's about the wholeness of who we are, right? And when I think about, again, I talking to my clients about the way that we're holding things in our guts, and stress and anxiety shows up again the older that we get. And so thinking about the wholeness of who we are. So as a person who is a therapist who's paying attention, right, to the ways in which I'm feeling and thinking, and then you have a story that sends you to the other side of this conversation, please share with us that journey. And please do not exclude how recent this was.
Okay, so Dr. Allen, thank you for what you just presented, because it's exactly what I'm saying. Pay attention. When your body tells you something isn't right, it is not right. And don't allow no to be your final answer if you know that your body does not feel normal. So as of July 22nd, I had a catheterization and found out that my right coronary artery was 99% blocked. It was already clotting and had been breaking off. I had a stent placed on July 22nd in my heart. July 18th, I had a heart attack. I actually was at the hospital having an upper GI and a colonoscopy, because I had been in the hospital in June. From the end of May to June, I kept saying my body has changed. I keep getting acid reflux, but it felt like a radiating burning throughout my chest, up through my ears, my arms. And I kept going to emergency. They're like, well, we did a stress test. We don't see anything. Your troponin levels are normal. We don't see anything. Something is, and I said, no, something is happening. It almost feels like a seizure, and it stops you in your tracks. And I kept telling them something is happening. The day of my endoscopy and my colonoscopy, I was in recovery, and my blood pressure shot up to 220 over 120. And they said, Miss Kelley, do you have hypertension? I said, yes. But I didn't take my medicine this morning, but I take it every day. I take it. And she said, well, your blood pressure is really high. Something is wrong. I said, yes, it is. It's been wrong for a month or so. I've been telling, this is not my only stop. I'm just getting this so they can stop telling me I have acid reflux, because I know it's not that. Not only did I have acid reflux, I was vomiting and diarrhea for about 7 days. I couldn't sleep on my back. I had to sit in a chair and sleep 6 days prior because every time I laid back, I would get this burning through my chest and my arms and my up through my ears. It would just feel really strange and it would hit like hurting. Chest palpitations. I check my blood pressure daily. My heart rate sitting still would be 101, just sitting there doing nothing. And I'm like, why is my heart racing? They're like, well, it's fine. You're a little chunky. I've been chunky a long time, but this is not normal. Also, I explained to them my father passed away having a triple heart bypass on the table.
Yeah.
My brother had heart issues, and I've not only had that on my paternal side, but on my maternal side, I've lost 4 uncles in 6 years from activity related to AFib. I lost a cousin that was 50 from AFib. I currently have 3 cousins that have pacemakers and defibrillators that are under the age of 50, and an aunt, all on the same side of the family. So we were already looking at having genetic testing for our family because of this high rate of AFib and other cardiology issues. But during June, I've been to my primary care. I went to the cardiologist prior to, so then I stopped. I said, okay, my GI doctor, I said, come on, let's do this test. So needless to say, in recovery, when I woke up, I was vomiting. They said, we're going to give you Zofran to stop the vomiting. I had been on Zofran for a week or two anyway. So I was like, okay, another dose. They left me alone. And in that few moments, that seizure like feeling that I just had that Saturday before happened again. And all I can do is cry. It just makes you sit still. And I said, that had to be a heart attack. This just seems odd. I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor, but something is wrong. So at that point, the nurse came back in. I said, I need you to take me to the emergency room. I was already in the hospital. So I said, can you wheel me around to the emergency room if you're not going to do anything? Because by that time, the anesthesiologist came back and he was like, I said, can you give me some pain medicine, something? And I knew when I said pain medicine, I said, they're going to pigeonhole me.
Yeah.
Because that's what they expect from us. So I said, no, I don't need pain medicine because I need it because I'm having overall pain. Something is specific. And I said, never mind. Can you please take me to the emergency room? He said, well, you can get dressed. You're discharged from here. We just see gastritis. You can just get up and go to the emergency room. I said, no, I'm not. You're going to wheel me in this bed and you're going to wheel me around to the emergency room because I know something just happened that was not supposed to happen. When they wheeled me around to the emergency room, the ED doctor came. He was just as sweet as he wanted to be, but not attentive and still dismissive. He said, Miss Kelley, what's happening? I said, sir, something is happening. I'm having radiating pain. I've been talking about this for over a month. It's going through my ears and chest. My chest beat increases. It's debilitating. This is not right. He said, well, he started to give me I guess I could call it almost an allegory. He talked about this is more like a car wash, the ED room, and if this is more like a fine brush, and with you having specifics, you should see a internal medicine or not a specialist, but maybe outpatient and not here in the hospital. And I said, sir,
Wow.
I really appreciate you trying to explain that as the lowest level as you can, but I don't need that. I am in full understanding. I said, here's copies of my prior lab work. My inflammation markers were up last time I was in the hospital. Yes, my troponin was low, but something is happening and I need you to figure it out. He was like, well, if you want to, we can look at it. I said, yep, I want to. So he came back to me and he said, Miss Kelley, are you? And he had this really ghostly looking
Because he was about to send you home, and that would not have been the right thing.
So then he said, are you aware that your level should have been like a 15, in the area of 15 or so? I said, I'm not a cardiologist or a medical doctor, no, but I do know when I read on the side of my reports, it looked like a 15 or lower. He said, yours is currently at a 1300. Do you understand what that means? I said, no, not fully. He said, I'm going to admit you. So he admitted me right then. They started me on a It's called heparin, which is a blood thinner, so my blood could thin out. And they came back later and said, your troponin levels have increased again to 1800. So again, I'm not a cardiologist. I don't know why it's increasing instead of decreasing. And so at that point, I still asked. I said, so did I have a heart attack? They were like, well, troponin levels could be a certain number of things. It could be at different reasons. I let it ride because, again, I don't know. So the next morning, I went up for ultrasound, and the ultrasound tech said, hey, is this your first heart attack? I said, who had a heart attack? Because, again, they did not tell me that that's what it was. So my ultrasound tech is the one that said, are you aware of this was your first heart attack? And I said, I didn't know I had one. And at that point, I just stayed quiet because I did not want to say anything else at that point because I still don't know what's going to happen beyond here. So some things I am reserving for myself, but all of this to say is, so then I still sat in the hospital from Monday until Friday. That's when they did my catheterization and found out that my artery was 99% blocked. Why I waited until Friday, I still don't know. So I'm saying this to say, if you have anyone in your tribe, your circle, your Facebook page, your Instagram following that you trust and you can ask questions to, if you can Google it, do that. I had no idea what troponin levels were, none of this until I started doing research for myself and my fiance. That's who helped me through this process to say. I additionally have family members that are physicians or nurse practitioners, so I had some people to ask questions with. But if that was not there, I would have been lost. But what I did not stop was asking questions. If something doesn't feel right, ask. So January 18th was my heart attack. January 22nd was when I had my stent put in, and I'm here to talk to you today. Even when my stent went in, I did not know. They came back in and talked to my fiance and my mom and said, it's nasty. Her artery, her right coronary artery is 99% blocked. I'm not sure a stent will work. And I asked them to make the decision, and they made the decision to do the stent. They weren't sure. They were going to prepare me for a bypass. So I'm saying this to say, when you feel like something is wrong, please ask questions. If one doctor says no, go to another. If you have to pay for it out of your pocket, if you have to get billed for it, I'd rather you be here to be billed for it than for someone to be making arrangements for you. That is very important. And I must stress to please ask as many questions as you can because people will not. And when I look back retrospectively, all of my physicians were men. And as you know, if you ever please go to the American Heart Association. When you look at the symptoms and symptomology of what heart attacks look like in women and men, it's totally different. So they've been telling me for a month, oh, you have acid reflux. Maybe it's GERD. Maybe I'm like, no, that's not what this is. Tums is not helping us. Mylanta is not helping us. Gaviscon is not helping us. This is not acid reflux. And sir, I don't get acid reflux. So why did this happen? But months prior, I had been telling them, my legs are swelling. My ankles, I can't fit any of my shoes. My eyesight is changing. I'm fatigued. I'm not feeling well. I'm not able to walk and not feel tired. At one point, we were flying so much. Every time I flew, I felt different. And I was like, wow, it's really, I've been on 16-hour flights. So this little 3 hours, I should be fine. But I could tell that every flight I was getting more and more swelling or I was not feeling well. Ask questions and please pay attention to your body. If you have to take, and I don't mean to be inappropriate, but take your clothes off and look in the mirror at your body. It's yours. Look and see if something looks different, if something has changed. Yes, as we age, things may start to look different, ladies, but please pay attention to your body. Not only physically, but mentally. If you start to get mentally brain fog, if you can't concentrate, if you're having more crying spells, if you're getting more emotional during or before your cycles, please pay attention to this. These changes are not occurring just because. something may be happening that we need to pay attention to. So please, I'm begging you, not for me, because I'm still here. I'm about to have part 2 live. This is this is part 2 of my life, and I plan on living it even greater than I have. Please take care of yourself. Please.
I'd love to see the good side of social media, right? Where you have doctors who are coming on and giving information and therapists who are coming on and giving information. And it's something that you said that brought me back to something that I actually saw on social media from a Black woman doctor, where you said the doctor said it could be different reasons. And her response was, well, you need to ask them, well, what are all of the reasons that it could be? And what are you doing? And why did you determine that those other reasons were not the cause? So, she gave like some term or whatever and what that's called, but.
Likely differential diagnosis. You want to know differential diagnosis and you want to be able to present. So, I mean, I think that's exactly right, because at the end of the day, that's what we're trained to do. Sometimes in the midst of, things going by fast and, needing to see so many different patients, sometimes people can be, really, short and not really give you the full gamut, right? But if you really, again, as you said, Erica, if you still feel like, no, this doesn't sound like what you're saying. Like, I hear what you're saying, Doc. Like, it usually is this, this, and this. But I honestly don't feel like I have those things. So I don't mind investigating them, but I don't think it's it. So what else are we talking about? So I definitely love that. And I love what you said about, one thing I would tell people is when they Google, like, to find information about it, make sure that they're going to major sites. I love the fact that you said the American Heart Association. There are so many major entities, that you can see. And a lot of times the way to tell is if you see it, usually it'll say something like four providers or 4 physicians, and then 4 patients. So those are a lot of times what we as providers or as physicians, we go there and we keep up with anything, especially in primary care, because, we're being the quarterback. We want to know what the latest things are happening. And sometimes new guidelines are coming out just on those major websites, or either, that's where we're depending on, particularly for cardiac health. So I love the fact that, you did go into that, and because you're absolutely right, particularly from a woman's perspective, when we are talking about cardiac conditions, particularly heart attacks, women do not present the same way as men. Now, that's not to say that Black women present different from other types of women. No, just women in general do not present the same way as men. In addition to that, like you said, there have been, I love the fact that, you mentioned, hey, they did do a stress test before, but it didn't show something. And the fact that, you were willing to say, okay, well, I will look, I'm okay with going to do the other EGD and colonoscopy, but I'm telling you, it's still, I'm okay with looking for it. But as long as, particularly for those folks who, if you're older than 25 years old and you're, and you're having issues, which sometimes can sound like acid reflux, this idea of it radiating, it can sound that way. However, we are trained as gastroenterologists, if you are above a certain age, particularly being 25, 35, or 45, in general, and you're coming in with acid reflux, and particularly if you have a family history of other cardiac issues, we are going to tell you before we do anything else, you got to go see your cardiologist, because cardiac issues can present, like we said, even in women, and sometimes even in men, can present as if this radiating, burning sensation. But once you start mentioning your arms were involved, and that it was going, you could feel it up into your neck, those are like really kind of, acid reflux usually doesn't do that much. So it can actually, for people, it can present in a way that, just like what you said, but it's extensive. So that's why really we just say we want to do the cardiac workup first. So it sounds like they did that, but unfortunately, maybe you still needed some other things. So I'm really glad that you advocated for yourself to say, nope, I had this EGD and colonoscopy just like you asked me to, and now I feel the same way. You ain't finding an answer for me. Take me to the ED now, because the truth is you have to advocate for yourself. I always tell people, I'm a doctor, yes, but you have been with your body 24/7 every single day for your whole life. Nobody knows your body and changes in your body like you do. I might be able to give a name to it after much investigation, but I will not be able to tell when something is really like off, and it's just not fitting your regular pattern like you will. So oftentimes when people come into my office, they tell me, okay, this is how it is. And sometimes it's not, it's not in medical jargon. They're not saying like, hey, I've got, dysphagia and all of these medical terms. A lot of times it is about listening to the patient so that you can kind of figure out, okay, is it this way that I understand in my medical jargon? So already there is a disconnect, at times, sometimes people come in and say, nope, I've got, I'm vomiting. That's, that's kind of easy, but sometimes even that needs to be teased out. So the idea of being able to hear what a patient is saying, really putting on your listening ears, and then being able to try to convert it, translate it. That's a doctor's job. We have to translate it to figure out, is this the medical symptoms that I'm thinking about? And then that's why we're supposed to be able to take enough time to be able to spew it back to you and say, this is what I'm hearing you say. Is this right for you? And sometimes you might say something like, actually, doc, I think it's still a little more of X, Y, and Z, but it may be a little bit of this. So I'm willing to do your test, but I still feel like we might need to figure out some more.
Thank you. Amazing Women Speak, the fastest hour in America. I tell you what, this conversation really, literally could go on and on. Some really amazing comments and questions in the chat. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get to all of those. But Dr. Allen, Erica, how can folks get in touch with you? Erica, we definitely have to have you back. Amazing Women Speak is doing a series on mental health. It is our business, is the platform in which we're having those conversations. And we would love to have you back and have that part of the conversation. Would really love to pick your brain around the infant mortality, connects to the health disparities, connects to the racism in this country and the ways in which Black women continue to be marginalized and not have our voices heard, and talk about the importance of that advocacy. So please, lady, how can we get in touch with you? How can folks get in touch with you? Again, not for free advice. We're not doing that. We are supporting these Black women in their crafts and honoring that. And they're willing to share resources, I am sure. So how can we get in touch with you for folks who had questions or just wanted to say thank you for the time that you gave today?
So for me, for Evolution Counseling, my telephone number is 313-231-7817. My email is info@evolutioncounselingandconsulting.com. I must put you on alert as I am continuing to rehab and take care of myself. I am not open to taking new clients until January. I am taking some time off to take care of me. So please don't be alarmed if it takes me some time to respond to your emails. I still welcome them and I will do what I can, but I have to take time for me right now to rebuild myself. I have to take that time. Not only is the cardiac part there, but I still have to go to rehab. I'll have to learn how to exercise and get ready to get this part 2 of my life going. I'm excited. Michele and Dr. Allen, I will be contacting you both because I got to get my new self together. I'm excited.
Erica, your email address one more time.
Yes, ma'am. It's info, INFO, at evolutioncounselingandconsulting.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Allen,
right.
Get in touch with you.
All right. So if you are in the Lansing area or not too far from it, you can certainly make a gastroenterology appointment with Digestive Health Institute or Pinnacle GI. Our number is 517-332-1200. Again, 517-332-1200. You can call anytime between 8 and 4. As far as being able, if there are opportunities where you want us to come out and I can put on my, speaking hat, just like we did tonight with Young Black Physicians. If you have any topics that you'd like a young Black doctor to discuss on your forum for education, advocacy, and training, please email us at youngblackphysicians@gmail.com. Again, YoungBlackPhysicians, all one word, @gmail.com. We also have videos up, and you can send us messages to YouTube. But I think the email is the easiest way to get in contact with us if you would like us to come. It's a group of, right now we have about 14 active members of Young Black Physicians from all different specialties, including psychiatry, as well as neonatology, pediatricians, family medicine, OBGYNs. So we got quite a few people. So if you need someone to specialize and come talk at one of your events, please, YoungBlackPhysicians@gmail.com.
Thank you.
I do want to lift up two people that are in the comments. James Young, find him. He does a whole lot around the area of heart disease. He has an incredible story. And then Dr. Simone Cowan is the actual cardiologist that is on, has been listening and commenting as well. So if you are in need of a cardiologist, Simone and James, I'm hoping both of you will put your information in the comments so that the people that are watching can also see that. This has been incredible. I don't even have words, but I don't even have words. Michele, go ahead. I don't. I'm so glad though that we have this platform and can have this discussion. And yes, we decided to do a series on mental health, but I think after hearing all that was said, we also need to do a series just on health in general. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and we'll be reaching out to people to have you on the show. Let me get some sponsorship information out. So Amazing Women Speak is brought to you by the Amazing Woman Network, which was created to unite and empower Black women globally, where our pillars are reclaiming our personal power, mind, body, and spirit, reclaiming financial power, and increasing our social involvement. We strive to ensure every Black woman owns, honors, and executes her amazing as it was established at birth. And feel free to take a peek at our retail line, our online store, where our t-shirts, hoodies, and signature fragrances are designed to remind you of just how amazing you truly are. That online store is shopawn.store, and you can get 15% off your purchases using the code AWSPEAK. I am excited and grateful for the women who have been on the show today. And as always, I'm super blessed and honored to have my BFF, Michele Harper, as this co-host. When someone just recently asked me about how we work together and what was that like, and I said I couldn't imagine anybody else being with me on here. I was like, it's you're dope, you're amazing, you already know it. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for taking this ride in this journey with us. I am Crystal Gunn. I am a Black woman, and I own my amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Crystal, once again, continue to be obedient to the call in your life. Blesses women that you don't even know. So very grateful to be able to share space with you each and every week. We are back. Facebook, we are back. Vacation is over. Join us each and every Sunday for the next few months as we continue to think about the ways in which we need to own and operate inside of our amazing. Follow her on Facebook. Follow that platform on Facebook. It will absolutely bless your life. What an amazing conversation. You women are absolutely dope. So very, very grateful for your willingness to share information and a part of who you are, so that we can continue to think about the collective ways in which Black women can lift each other up and celebrate who we are and encourage one another to be our absolute best selves. My name is Michele Harper. I am a Black woman, and I absolutely own my amazing. Erica.
Thank you for the opportunity to share this platform with 3 other amazing women. I celebrate you and thank you. I lift you up and encourage you. If there's any way I can help and continue us pushing and helping other women, I will continue to do that. I am Erica Kelley. I am a Black woman, and I'm my own amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I
Dr.
just want to say thank you for being able to be a part of this. Definitely, it was an amazing experience because of, as we all have said, the amazingness that surrounds us. And synergy is a real thing. My name is Dr. Jannel Kutala Lee Allen. I am a Black woman and I own my amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have a
so
great
much, ladies.
evening.
Have
will
a great
see you
evening,
next
everybody.
week.
Yes.